Hey, what's going on, guys? Tim Avery here with Visual Testaments. Have you guys ever thought about talking about aliens, demons, spirits, things like that? Well, I wanted to chat a little bit about that because I think you'll find it interesting, because I know with all these government documents being released or unclassifying stuff, and with whistleblowers coming out talking about what they found, biologics and all this other stuff, and now seemingly all this stuff is kind of being put to the back burner. But I find it quite interesting that that's kind of where we're at right now. But I did want to talk about that because I know Donna posted a video earlier about, what do you believe? And so it's interesting that there is a whole lot more people who would say that they believe in aliens versus that they believe in demons or demonics or spiritual realm. They'll believe in aliens, but they don't believe in demons. And so can I just tell you this? Can I just tell you that they're one and the same? And I want to talk to you about why I think that, and hopefully you'll be convinced, just by our talks about these videos this series of videos that we're talking about up in the up and coming. Because once you start to realize what these entities are, because I strongly believe that there is something, that people are seeing things. There's video recordings. There's evidence there that you just can't deny it. That there's actually something there. But I do want to mention that because I think it's important that if you don't tackle it, you don't talk about it, you're swayed to believe whatever you want to believe, or you're swayed to believe whatever anybody else would want you to believe. And so it's important to have a good grasp on what it is that you believe biblically. So anyways, we know the stories in the Bible in Genesis about Nephilim, about the Noah and the ark, and God completely wiping out all the Nephilim, right? Well, some of those things that, now I'll just briefly touch about that real quick, but there's the angels of the angels of God, the sons of God, come down into women, and they made this offspring race called the Nephilim. We all know that these are the giants, the renown, and all that stuff. So we know that happened, right? So what makes you think that can't happen again? So in essence, these spirits, they cannot operate in our realm or in our natural realm without a body. Demons and spirits and angels, they're just that. They're just a spirit being. And so they cannot operate in our realm without a body. So we're a three-part being, right? We're soul, spirit, and body. So that's why we can live here. So when our fleshly body dies, our spirit and our soul, if you're saved, goes to heaven, right? So same thing. So our spirit man can't die, soul can't die, either goes to hell for eternity or heaven to eternity. So there's only two places, right? So the same thing. So these Nephilim spirits, when their body died, when these Nephilim died, their spirits went somewhere, right? So where did they go? Well, here's an interesting thing, all right? Think about this with me. Now, of all the things we've heard in the past of 60, 70 years or however long it's been about people talking about aliens, all these conspiracies, things like that, movies, Fire in the Sky, all these things, about all these different types of movies, talking about like when people get abducted, what are the one common thing that usually happens when somebody gets abducted, or when they talk about their story, what happens? They usually have some type of sexual encounter, they're probing their genitals, whatever, and they're, why do you think that is? Just like the Nephilim spirit, these spirits have knowledge that we don't have. Like, they know things that we don't know because they've been around for centuries, decades. I mean, they've been around forever, right? And so it's interesting to know that because they have knowledge that we don't know, they have genealogy knowledge of bodies and humans and other what's the word I want to use, other types of animals, I'll say it that way. And so if they know that they can get sperm or eggs and to create a different type of race, that they can use a body. Remember, a spirit can operate in our realm without a body. If they learn how to make a body, or they're mixing different genes and genetics and things like that, that they can create a body, and so that's what I strongly believe is actually happening right now. So, and it's interesting to note that with this whistleblower recently said that they had uncovered some biologics. It wasn't of this world, but that's all he can really just comment on, is that they uncovered biologics, and that's kind of much just what he left it at. And so just say all that is to say, I just want you guys to think outside the box. And so there's these group of people who, this is interesting to note too. I want you to think about this. There are people out there who are UFOologists, whatever, and they're great, whatever. But there's people who communicate or say they can communicate to these UFO beings. Now, I'll just tell you this. We know that the enemy is a liar. And so these spirits or demons will be whoever you want them to be. You know, whether they're guides, the leaders, or aliens from another race. They're people who, spirits with knowledge that should help you, whatever. They'll be whoever you want them to be believed in. And so I say all that to say this, which is they want you to believe in them. So these guys were communicating with these guys, right? So they have these sessions, and they will sit quietly in a circle, and they'll start getting their spirit lined up, whatever it is, and they'll have these sessions with these aliens, that they would come down and they would either show a light or a beam of light or whatever, an orb or whatever, and they will communicate with them and allow them to go to another dimension, or astral project is what we know in the spirit realm, what that, in the biblical terms, what that actually means, that they get to travel somewhere else, or they get shown somewhere else or whatever, that they have these sessions and they're actually communicating with these entities. And so I guess, again, people believe more in UFOs than they do in demons. And so that's all this is. And so I want you guys to be aware of that, and just, you know, there's a biblical answer for everything that happens in our world, because there's nothing new under the sun. Okay, let me say that. Solomon said that, but there's nothing new under the sun. It's just things being repeated, regurgitated. You know, this, like Don was saying in another video, this things just come full circle. And so it's interesting to know that. So another thing that I wanted to mention is that when people were having these UFO encounters, you know, when they said the name Jesus, the encounter stopped. Now, there's documented series about that as well too, so I would encourage you to look at that, and that's quite interesting. So if these UFOs, if God doesn't exist and these UFOs do, and if saying the name of Jesus can stop a UFO encounter, then obviously this is some type of demonic presence here. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your mind as well too. So there's always an answer. There's always a biblical answer to what's going on in our world right now. And I encourage you guys to stay in the Word, and don't get sidetracked with thinking, well, there's UFOs now, so what do we do now if there's UFOs? It's not UFOs. Okay, you can call them whatever you want to call them, but at the essence of what they are, they're demons. And they're trying to create another race, just like the Nephilim, full circle back around to what Adam and Eve did. Not Adam and Eve, but Adam and Eve's generational race after them. Like the sons of God came into the women of God, and they made this offspring, and to pollute the human race, and doing the same exact thing. Nothing new is under the sun. And so I'd encourage you guys to keep your mind on, have a biblical perspective of what's going on around you, and just pray against all this stuff, obviously, but don't fall into the trap of thinking that, well, if there's UFOs, then God doesn't exist, because who are these UFOs answering to? Because who created the UFOs, right? So I just encourage you guys with that. Love you guys. If you have any questions, please leave in a comment below. I love to keep talking about this, because I think it's important to talk about. I know there's some people who just don't want to talk about it because they don't know anything about that stuff, but I encourage you guys, let's talk about it. All right, love you guys. Bye for now.